Hey there, guys, and welcome back to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 97. We're available on anchor.fm/Travis Damian podcast, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. First, we're going to talk about the brand new Super Mario Brothers movie trailer. Then we'll head into our recent activities, including Spy X Family and Overwatch 2. Afterwards, gaming and entertainment news, including Google Sadia shutting down and Deadpool 3. Lastly, our thoughts on the newest episodes of Andor and She-Hulk. Okay, so first up, yesterday they did a Super Mario Brothers movie direct, which was pretty much them talking about the movie and then showing off the first ever trailer. So before we get into that, what was your thoughts on the poster, Damian, that they showed off?
On the poster, honestly, I thought it looked pretty good. I thought it was very colorful. I think I was actually surprised the character designs look pretty much like how they looked in the games. Usually when they do stuff like in movies, they change up the designs for like no reason, but it seemed like Illumination was being pretty faithful to like the original designs, which was nice. Obviously Mario, everyone say had no ass. I saw that on Twitter.
Yeah.
But I still thought he looked fine, from the back, I guess, like he looked good. All the toads look normal. It just looked good. I really like is like very detailed and everything. Obviously you can't get that in the game, so it looks like they really did everything they could to really make it look good. Because, when you think of Illumination, you don't really think too much of, like, good animation. I mean, like, they did Minions and, like, Despicable Me, but everything else they did is pretty generic and, like, not that standout. It's not like DreamWorks where they do, like, How to Train Your Dragon, and that movie looks really good, or obviously Pixar or whatever. But it looks like they were really giving it their all, at least in this poster. It looked good. So
yeah,
I had some faith going into the movie, to the trailer. So
yeah, I think the poster itself was pretty promising. I think that them showing off, I guess, Mario taking on the Mushroom Kingdom, if you will, because that's what it seems like from the trailers, being like Izakai'd in or some shit.
Yeah, he's got Izakai'd, yeah.
So the poster itself does look pretty good. I cannot wait to see what else we can, other, I guess, like areas of the Mario universe that we're going to explore. But yeah, I mean, before the trailer even came out, the fucking Mario design got leaked because someone, I think like Alex eats pants or something, or Connor eats pants.
Connor,
yeah, something like that. Just leaked it in their Discord because they worked at McDonald's, and I'm like, why would you ever give classified information to McDonald's employees? They don't give a fuck. They actually don't care about their job. So, that's how it pretty much got leaked to the world. If you didn't see it in the trailer for the first time, but the trailer itself, I mean, the first time I watched it was in my fucking car. So, but I mean, I think that this speaks to just Nintendo being very protective of their IP in a sense that they don't allow other people to do Mario stuff for obvious reasons. In the past, things have not gone well. Mario's missing. The other ones, with the time machine, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, Mario's time machine.
Yeah, so those games weren't that great, and Nintendo didn't really handle those. So there's good reason why they are very protective of their IP. So when there's new iterations or new looking versions of Mario and like other franchises of Nintendo, it's gonna look weird. From the trailer itself, I mean, I thought it looked fine. I think that this is something that we're probably gonna have to get used to. I'm not gonna flat out say that the designs are just awful, because I think that that's just unfair to the movie itself. But I can see some criticism about how in certain angles Mario looks good, and then in other angles he just looks bad. But then again, that could just be us freeze framing it at a certain point. I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely think like everything in the trailer was pretty good, except Mario. I think he looks fine. Obviously, the voice is is just Chris Pratt. When he said, "Oh, I'm gonna do a Mario voice," he really didn't. It just sounded like Chris Pratt. But like I said before with the poster, I do think a lot of the characters look really good, like the Magic Koopa and like the regular Koopas, Bowser. I think they all look really good. Like they look like they don't look weird. I'm glad they didn't do some weird shit where like the Koopas look like people or whatever. Like I'm glad all the enemies look the same, which is good. Even like brought like the penguins from like Mario 64 and Galaxy, so that was kind of cool. Even like Toad looks good. I think he's like a little longer, but like whatever. I think every character looks good, and for the most part, I think Mario also looks good. Like the animation is definitely like really good. Like I think it looks great. But that's about all I can really say about it because, you know, we didn't see much. It was mostly just like, you know, like here's the characters and stuff. But I could already tell that I think Jack Black as Bowser is going to be pretty fun. It seems like he was really enjoying himself as Bowser. And, you know, I think Jack Black just has like, you know, he's done voice acting a lot more than Chris Pratt probably. So, and I've heard his voice in a lot of stuff, obviously. So I think he's going to do a good Bowser. But yeah, Chris Pratt, I'm still not really convinced. And I'm sure a lot of people aren't convinced about his performance just yet.
Yeah, I think that even before this trailer came out, I think the general consensus is that we're all excited to see everyone else play their characters except for Chris Pratt's Mario, because Chris Pratt, you know, he's just a plug-in kind of guy, you know, like he's Star-Lord, he's the fucking Jurassic Park guy. Like he doesn't really speak volumes to being a voice actor. Obviously he did
Lego Movie,
but you know, him branching out to that and him doing a different voice outside of his normal voice is something that we haven't seen before. I think, like you said with Jack Black, he is obviously, or maybe not obviously, but I think in my opinion, he feels more invested into his character than maybe Chris Pratt does. I think people feel like he's phoning it in to a certain extent, which I agree with. But yeah, I mean, like you said, the movie itself, it looks great. The animations, the way the characters move, the details, like it is all there. Obviously the budget's there because this is a fucking Mario movie, so they're going to put however much resources they can into it. And the voice acting is something that has been brought up recently on Twitter. I've noticed, you know, Charles Martinet, he's obviously voiced Mario for years and years and years, and he probably should have been the voice of Mario, honestly. I think that him alongside with a bunch of other Hollywood voice actors, I wouldn't mind. I just think that voice actors within games should also get their roles within the movies if possible. I think with the Sonic movie, you know, I'm going to be a Sonic fanboy for a second here, but with Sonic, he's gone through many different voice actors and Sonic has had a speaking role within his own games for many, many years. So when you have Mario, where it's been this one guy doing it for however many years and recording like maybe 20 lines within every single game or something like that, you know, it's something that is a huge difference when you go from a game to a movie, because you have to have these speaking roles, have to have these storylines play out and stuff like that. So
yeah, I just think it's just weird to hear Mario talk like sentences in general, just because, you know, I love Charles Martinet, but even if he was doing like a full ass movie as Mario just talking, he's like, whoa, like, you know, it was weird, right? I think it's also harder because, you know, Sonic, I think, has more of a established personality. You know, he's more of like that attitude, like piece of shit, you know, like he's like, yeah, I'm Sonic. You know, it's really easy. And, you know, he had, like you said, he had a lot of speaking roles, obviously, before, and he's done more involved plots. Like Mario has more involved plots, but he's usually just like the mute. Like he doesn't really say anything. And he doesn't really have a personality. Like he's just like a dude that saves the day. So I think it's going to be hard regardless. To like make him a main character in like a movie where he has to like do more than like be an extension of yourself, I guess. So yeah, I think it's gonna be hard regardless. But I don't know if they could do it. I don't know. To me, it's definitely gonna feel like one of those movies where all the other characters are good, but the main character, which, you know, that happens in a lot of things. But I think it's definitely gonna be the case here. Like I think Luigi's gonna be better, just because Luigi has more of a personality in general. So yeah, we're gonna have to see how it is. I think the movie's going to be okay, and I think the weakest part is definitely going to be Mario. But yeah.
Unfortunately. I think that this is also a case of just Nintendo using voice acting in their things. Like, I still remember when I played Kid Icarus Uprising, and that game was fully voice acted, and that shit threw me off. I was like, what the fuck? You know?
Right.
So I think that this is something that people are going to have to get used to. I'm sure that people are very skeptical and very harsh on the movie right now because this is something brand new for Nintendo, obviously. They've had a Mario movie in the past, but that was not that great. It was really fucking bad, honestly.
Yeah, it was really bad.
But this one, it seems obviously a lot more promising, a lot more faithful to the original source material. Obviously, the characters will look like their characters. It's just a matter of the voice acting and the plot and sort of what they're trying to go for here. I know that this is going to be like an origin movie and they're going to bring in like a lot of Easter eggs and certain characters that we haven't seen in the games, but only like, I guess, like hardcore Mario lore enthusiasts would know. And I'm not one of those people. So yeah, I mean, I'm obviously still looking forward to it. I cannot wait to see hopefully another trailer before it comes out, because I feel like after this one, it has left a lot of people wanting more, sort of seeing what else this can offer, because we've only seen Bowser, Mario, and some of Luigi's voice acting. So, seeing all of the other characters sort of interact with each other and things like that would be pretty cool.
Yeah. I just wonder, like, I guess the plot really is just going to be an isekai. It's going to be like fucking Konosuba, where it's like, all right, yeah, you got transported this world, beat the demon lord, and then you could go home or something. I'm like, okay, I guess that's what we're doing, where Bowser's the fucking demon lord. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, it's going to be interesting what they do, if they're going to make this into a cinematic universe like everything else. Everyone's like, oh, there's going to be a Smash Brothers movie. That's going to be like the Avengers. So I guess we'll see.
I don't want
hoping
that.
the movie does well.
I don't want that shit.
I just feel like what are they gonna do?
Yeah, I don't want that.
But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see where this movie goes. They're probably gonna make more regardless, because it's probably gonna make a bunch of money. But yeah, I guess we'll see.
All right, so now we will head into our recent activities. I will let Damian go first, because my things are pretty quick, and we can transition for one of Damian's last things into mine. So
yeah, so I had a lot of free time because there was a hurricane here, and I didn't really have a lot of work or school. And luckily, I was okay, so I ended up having some free time. So I was able to finish up a lot of stuff and start some stuff. So Last of Us Part 1, I finally finished that. And yeah, it was really good. I could see why people really enjoy that game. This was my first post Naughty Dog, not Naughty Dog, post Jack and Daxter Naughty Dog game. I never played Uncharted, never played Last of Us when it first came out. So this was my first sort of like experience of their sort of new gameplay style. And yeah, it's really good. Usually they do the thing, like, it is very structured in how its gameplay is, where, you have your sort of talking and walking, scavenging parts. You have your sneaky encounters where you could go around sneak killing people or whatever, and then you have your big set piece moments and stuff, and then it kind of repeats. But it's fun. Like I said in the last podcast, I think the gameplay was a lot more fun than I thought it was gonna be. I still think the enemy AI still feels like, they say smarter, and I guess it is. Like, they do some more advanced techniques that I don't think happen on the PS3. But for the most part, it's pretty like, here's your thing, you stand behind, you just shoot them. It's still pretty rudimentary, so it's like whatever. But it was still fun to kill things and fight the infected and clickers and all that. I think the thing what people mostly remember from this game is the story and characters and all that. And yeah, all that stuff was really good. All the characters feel really believable. It definitely is some of the best, I guess, like acting in any game I've seen, just because I do feel like the characters really feel like people. And I think the improved facial animations help like that a lot. Like, they really convey emotion really well. Again, I can't really say because I didn't play the PS3 version, but just like looking at it, I'm like, there's no way the PS3 could like do this amount of complex like facial animation. So yeah, I will say that that stuff was really well done. I think really helped the game a lot in terms of like its story, which was really good. And in terms of it being worth $70, I think that's mostly up to the person that buys it. I mean, for me, it felt like buying a new game, so I didn't really mind it.
Yeah.
But, if you played this game before and you're not like a big super fan, then yeah, it probably isn't worth it, because the game is basically the same game. Like, they didn't really change anything gameplay-wise that much besides the AI. Like, everything basically feels the same. You have all the cool like accessibility options that are really nice. Like I talked about last time, I used the gyro controls for aiming, and that helped a lot. But if that's not a big deal to you, then I really don't think it's worth $70. I'll say wait a year if you're not sure. It's probably gonna go on the PS like Plus collection anyway. So at that point, just wait. And probably when the show comes out, it's probably gonna be on sale anyway. So yeah, I'll say if you played the game before, wait. Unless you're like a really big fan of the game, then go ahead. You probably bought it already. But overall, I thought it was a really great game. I could see why people love it a lot. Next year I'll play Last of Us Part 2. Not this year because there's already too many games coming out, but next year I am excited to play Last of Us Part 2 because of how controversial it is, so I can see what happened.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be a fun game to really get my opinion on. But yeah, overall I think it's still a great game. I think it holds up. I know it's a remake, but I still think like everything about it is still really good. And yeah, I'm excited to like explore other Naughty Dog games because I kind of slacked on them for like a lot of years. So yeah, very good game. Next I have Soul Hackers 2. So this is by Atlas, the Persona SMT people. This is their big RPG that came out this year. And yeah, it's really good. It's definitely a lot more budget than SMT or Persona 5. because you could just tell. I mean, I think it's made by their like other team. I think there's the P team that does Persona games, the other people that do SMT games, and then like they have like their B studio team that does like everything else. But yeah, you could tell like just they had to cut a lot of corners, a lot of reuse assets, a lot of the dungeons are very copy and pasted. But I still think it's very good. Like I think the characters, story, presentation, voice acting, I think all that stuff is really good, just as good as like any other Atlas game. But I do feel they kind of skimped out on like the actual gameplay portion. Like the battle system is still great. I think it's really hard to mess up an SMT battle system at this point. It's just like Pokemon but better. So and they still keep that in this game. Instead of when you hit an enemy weakness, instead of getting an extra turn, you now get like demons in your like demon stack. And the more demons you have in your stack at the end of your turn, you just do a bunch of damage. So it basically acts the same way. It's fun regardless. But the major like complaint about this game, and at first I'm like, I don't really see it. But as I got further in the game, it's the dungeons. The dungeons are very like old school Persona 3 and 4 dungeons, where it's just like a hallway, and you just go down the hallway and beat up some monsters, and that's about it. Like there isn't really that many interesting things going on. And all the environments you go through are pretty like bland. Like it's either like this blue like matrixy looking thing, which is cool at first, but then it's like you have to do it like 40 times. And then there's like just an abandoned subway, and then there's like some shipping thing, or there's like a freaking office building, and that's about it, which sucks because this game has like a cyberpunky aesthetic, so it would have been cool to like explore a dungeon down like the streets with neon lights and everything, but nah, it's mostly just dark and grimy like alleys or whatever. So it would have been cool to actually have that. And I think it's just being spoiled from Persona 5 and SMT5's like level design, where it's like very vast and expansive, and there's like a lot of set pieces and places to make the dungeons feel memorable. This game really doesn't have that. It's very much like Persona 3 and 4, where it's just like straight corridors and you hit monsters. But if you like that sort of classic dungeon crawling, then it's fine. I mean, I do too. I just wish there was more visual like variety and more like sort of interesting mechanics in the dungeons, because most of the time like there might be one or two like little puzzles you have to do, but for the most part it's just walk and kill some monsters, which is fine. But yeah, overall I'm still really enjoying it. I think if this game had more of a budget and they were able to fix up the dungeons, it would have been just as good as SMT5 and Persona 5, but it's kind of missing that aspect to it. But yeah, I'm still enjoying it. I mean, I'm a big Atlas fan regardless, so I'm enjoying myself. But I would say if you're interested in this, just maybe wait for a sale, but still a really good time. All right, so Overwatch 2. All right, so Overwatch 2 came out on Tuesday, I think.
Yeah, something like that. I
forget. Yeah, on Tuesday, I think. And, before I talk about actual Overwatch 2, it has been getting a lot of issues with its servers. So the queue times have been, like, ridiculous. You would go in, and I basically have to wait, like, an hour to actually play the game. So you would just wait in queue. There's, like, 30,000 people ahead of you. And on the first day, you basically just couldn't play the game. Because I would wait, like, 45 minutes to play the game, get in the game, I would shoot a rocket, and then they would just disconnect you. Apparently they were getting DDoSed or something.
Yeah.
So apparently that was happening, and they got DDoSed like a lot during that first day, which sucked. So if you went in there and just played a game, you would just get booted out because the servers just exploded. So yeah, that was a pretty awful first day. Also, a lot of people, my brother included, their accounts didn't merge properly. So if you had an Overwatch, so if you have an Overwatch 1 account and you transfer to Overwatch 2, you should be able to keep all your cosmetics and like loot and whatever. But a lot of people, they would log into the game and all their shit was missing. It was like a whole new account, and that happened to my brother as well. And apparently that was also a big bug. Apparently they just fixed it today, where you could like log in and all your stuff is back. But yeah, that was like 3 days or 4 days where you just couldn't play the game, which is an issue because the big part about this, like, I guess, sequel is is the battle pass. And if you can't play for a few days, you miss a bunch of dailies, you miss your weeklies, and that's pretty bad for the whole progression, the new progression system of this game now, because it's very much going on the FOMO route.
Yeah.
So but yeah, in terms of actual new content this adds, adds 3 new heroes and 1 new game mode and like 6 new maps. I do think all those things are really good. Like, I really like all 3 of the heroes. They're all really fun. My favorites are the healer and tank, Junker Queen and Kiriko. Like, they're both really fun. But I do agree that there should have been more, right? Like, this was 3 years they announced Overwatch 2. It was 3 years ago they announced this. And all we got was 3 new heroes, 1 new game mode, which is fun, and like 6 new maps and a battle pass. And that's it. we were promised, a bunch more heroes. We were promised a full PvE mode by this point with like a whole story mode, cinematics, skill trees, all that good stuff. And we basically didn't get any of that. But, regardless of that, I still think the game is fun. I think the move from 6v6 to 5v5 does feel good. Like, I think the game is a lot more aggressive now. It's less just shooting shields and stuff and more just actually killing people, which is cool. The game just feels more aggressive. I know some people don't like that because it kind of takes away more of the teamwork aspect of the game, which I do agree. I think there is a lot less synergy now than there used to be. But I do think the game is just a lot more fast-paced and fun now, at least to me. I don't really play a single role. I mostly play whatever. Mm-hmm. But, I guess I play DPS more than anything. And I do find the game just more enjoyable now. But yeah, I do agree that the game should have launched with way more content than what we got. Because people saying that it's Overwatch 1.5 really aren't lying. It basically does feel like a patch that should have happened like 2 years ago. And then the last thing being the battle pass, which is like the big thing. It doesn't seem too bad. I mean, it's $10. I'm already like ranked 20, and I don't think I played that much. Like I've just been doing my dailies and weeklies, and I've been playing more than usual because the game just came out. Mm-hmm. But it does seem to be like not that stingy with the XP, which is nice. I don't feel like I have to play every day of every week to get it to like level 80, which is the max rank for it. It does look like it's progressing nicely, which is good. It does suck that you don't get any premium currency back. Like how Fortnite, you get your money back when you complete it. Mm-hmm. You don't get your money back. They don't do that. They're just like, you buy it and that's it. You just get the skins. You don't get your money back. And loot boxes are gone. There's a premium store now, and the skins are very overpriced. Like a legendary skin is like $20, which really isn't worth it.
Should have seen Valorant skins, bro.
Yeah, I heard Valorant's even worse. So
yeah, it's real bad.
But yeah, overall, I mean, I'm still enjoying the game because I really like Overwatch. It's like one of my more favorite like FPSs. Like because I like TF2, and this kind of directly goes with it, I guess. I'm not a big fan of things like Valorant or CS:GO or Rainbow Six. Like, it's just not my type of game. Like, this is where I'm more comfortable in, and it kind of sucks that Blizzard makes it. So
yeah.
But overall, like, it's fun. But yeah, it's definitely hard not to be disappointed when playing it. So
okay, yeah, I mean, like, I had to download Battle.net, which I haven't done in like years because I was like, what the fuck do I have this shit for?
Right.
So I re-downloaded it, and then I downloaded Overwatch, and I was like, all right, let's try to get into a game. And I was like, oh wait, the servers are still down. All right, well, I guess we'll play something else. So yeah, I mean, it just seems like something that was probably hindered by the internal conflicts that were going on, and maybe they were shooting too high for what they were really able to accomplish. So yeah, and obviously it's been years since Overwatch 1 came out, so the fact that their business model is completely different from like loot boxes to now a whole battle pass, it just speaks volumes to how long this game has been in development for. But yeah, hopefully, I'm not gonna say hopefully the game gets better because I honestly want this shit to fail. But I'll try it out because my girlfriend wants to play it, so why not? I'll play some Overwatch. Honestly, when Overwatch came out and I bought it, I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Because like this was like the closest, like, I guess, league competitor that was out kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's try it out and see what happens. It was fun while I played it, but not something that I obviously, religiously went back to and things like that.
Yeah, it's I still think it is one of the better hero shooters. Like like things like Paladins just feel like knockoffs to Overwatch, and I wish there was more games like this. Like I wish Valve made a TF3 or something because I would play that. But yeah, none of the other like popular shooters. I know Valorant is the biggest one, or one of the bigger ones now, because everyone on Twitch watches it. I just can't. I just don't like. I hate CS:GO. It does this to CS:GO. So I'm like, I just don't like it. I just like my more, I guess, movement based like crazy shooters. I just like that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So it sucks that Overwatch is really the only one that could give me that sort of feeling back. But yeah, and apparently what you were saying with the internal conflict, it was basically said that this game went through a lot of shit with Activision and stuff, and like this version of Overwatch 2 was apparently only like a year or so in development because a lot of things had to get scrapped or whatever. That came out during the whole harassment stuff. So yeah, it's still like a mess. I mean, I still like it because it's Overwatch and I liked Overwatch 1. But if you didn't like Overwatch 1, it probably won't do a lot for you because it's basically the same game. So, yeah. But besides that, I've also been watching anime, and I finished Cyberpunk Edgerunners, and that show was fucking great. People were saying like it's like anime of the year, and I agree, it's very good. I do think, obviously, I really like the Cyberpunk IP after the game. Even though the game has a lot of issues, I think the world and stuff was not one of those issues. And I love Trigger, like I love Studio Trigger a lot. And this basically combined both of those things really well together. Like the action was amazing. The story was really good. It goes very fast paced though, and I think if you didn't play the game, you will be kind of lost because the game really teaches you a lot of the terminology of the world, and this just does not explain anything. It just like assumes you already know all these things. So I feel like that is kind of an issue with the show. Like if you're just jumping into it, you can still enjoy it, but I feel like you are going to be kind of lost when they mention a lot of things and you're just like, what the hell are they talking about? But I already knew what they were talking about because I played the game, so I didn't feel that lost. But I think overall you don't really need to. I think like the overall core of the story is like not really lost on you because it's like more of a general thing regardless. Like you don't really have to know about all the lore or whatever. But yeah, it was really good. Like the animation was like amazing. I thought the story was really good. The music was great. It was just great. I really liked it. I say give it a shot. I think you'll like it. It's pretty crazy though. Next I watched Spy Family, which I guess I'll save that for that because you also watched Spy Family. But I actually watched there was like a new Gundam show out this season. There's a lot of shit this season.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh okay, I'll watch the new Gundam show. And yeah, it's really good. The first episode is like a prologue. Very dark. And then the second episode we're in school. So it does go kind of a tonal whiplash. But I actually am liking it a lot right now. I think the animation is really good. The story is very different from the other Gundam show I watched, being Iron-Blooded Orphans, which was, just dark in the whole show. This show seems to have a little more of a lighter tone right now, which is cool. It's also like goes back to the more, I guess, traditional Gundam stuff where there's like lasers and laser swords and shit, which is cool. Iron-Blooded Orphans was more realistic in its approach where there wasn't any lasers or whatever. It's more like just bullets and like normal like blades or whatever. But yeah, this one seems to be going for more for that, I don't know what you call it. It's getting a little gay too. Like there's like the two female leads. I don't know if they're gonna do something, but like they said something at the end. I'm like, oh shit, that's cool. So that's very different from any other Gundam show. And I think this is the first female protagonist also for this series. So that's cool as well. And I like her character a lot. She's not like super stoic or like super sassy. She's just like very like kind of a spaz. Like she's just like very nervous about everything, and it's like she just doesn't know what she's doing. I really like that. It's a very unique like sort of thing for a more for a show like this. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. And yeah, Spy Family was the last thing I watched. Obviously really good. I like the dog. I like I like his voice. I just like the dog just Borf.
Yeah, Borf.
It's very funny. And yeah, just get to see the show back. I'm really excited to see where they're going with all this. The dog has some special things going on, so I'm really interested to see how he fits into the dynamic. And yeah, it's still a really good show.
Yeah, I mean, Spy Family is back, and if you like food, you'll like Spy Family. I mean, this is like
basically
it's like the most grieving. Yeah, this is like the most like non-offensive I feel it's shonen that you can really like because it's just fucking cute. It's just so much fun, and when there is action, there is a purpose to it, and the show is just very, very funny. And I think that this first episode has really brought a lot of people back into it, not just because of the show or not just because of the dog, but also just because the show is just very, very good. So I cannot wait to see the other stuff get animated because I feel like that this season is going to be a lot of fun. I think it might be more fun than the first one because obviously the first season was them like setting everything up with the whole different roles and Anya and Lloyd and everything like that. So cannot wait to see more of Bond because Bond is best fucking boy, and her and Anya get into some shenanigans is what I'll say.
Hell yeah.
So, but the other thing I did is that I read Komi Volume 20. This isn't the newest one. I'm kind of behind on Komi, but yeah, I mean, it's more fucking Komi. I mean, what can I say? It's about a girl that is very much shy and so much so that she can't even speak a word, but she is definitely opening up to her friends and people around her. So, that's pretty much all I've been doing. Been a little busy with school and shit because of midterms, but we'll move on from there. We're going to get into everything within the news. So first up, The Last of Us teaser trailer for the HBO series. The first official one that we actually get to see pretty much everything. People have already done side-by-side comparisons of the cutscenes from the game. And yeah, I mean, it looks fucking good. What can I say that hasn't already been said?
Yeah, it looks really good. Apparently HBO is putting like a lot of money into this, so they really are banking on this to be like the next big hit. And I think it will. I think it will be the next big hit because I think The Last of Us does a good job being like, oh, it's just a zombie show, but it's like a lot more than that, you know, with its characters and stuff. And I think you could really expand on that with a TV show where you have more time to let things breathe, I guess, and you don't have to put gameplay in it, like you don't have to be like, okay, we are a video game, so you still gotta like play it. This could focus a lot more on dialogue and just character interactions and stuff, maybe get to know some characters more, maybe introduce some things maybe earlier if they wanted to. I do think it's going to be for this show's, or I guess for the franchise's benefit, that this is going to be a big budgeted show because the game basically was that to begin with, so it wanted to be a big cinematic thing, and this is basically being that. So I definitely think the show, like Last of Us Part 1 is going to benefit a lot from just being a show. Well, I guess it's like all of Last of Us, I guess, not just going to be Part 1. But yeah, I do think they could do a lot of interesting stuff and maybe expand on a lot of different things and Joel and Ellie's relationship and, all that good stuff. Maybe explain more things with the Fireflies. There's a lot of things they could do to like expand the lore without like I guess ruining some stuff, and it looks like they're not. It looks very faithful to the series because I know Neil Druckmann he's working on this as well. So
yeah, he's like executive producer, so he's making sure the show's not gonna be bad.
Yeah, bad. Yeah,
hopefully. But yeah, I'm just very very excited to see this unfold because like you said, this is like a very big budgeted sort of thing. They're putting a lot of money into this, a lot of talent behind it. Obviously Pedro Pascal as Joel is a fantastic choice, and I cannot wait to see how his version of Joel develops in a sense, because we obviously know the story of The Last of Us. They fucking love redoing it over and over again, showing us in obviously 3 different fucking systems at this point, from the PS3 to now the PS5. So I cannot wait to see this whole thing unfold, how they're going to pace the show, because obviously they're also implementing the story of Ellie with Riley. So I wonder when that episode's going to happen and how that's going to play into her character as a whole. Are they going to show that before she talks to Joel about that or reveals that to him, sort of thing? So there's going to be a whole lot of hype behind the show and a whole lot of expectations, just because this seems like it's going to be a very good video game adaptation in general, and we don't get a lot of those. So
I just wonder how they're gonna pace it and stuff. Like, I don't know how many seasons they're gonna stay in Last of Us Part 1 and then move on to Last of Us Part 2. And once they're done with Last of Us Part 2, it's like, well, we ran out of source material. Now what? So obviously games take a long ass time to develop, and they're making factions right now. So I don't know when, if they are gonna do Last of Us Part 3, which they probably are. It's gonna be interesting to see how the show sort of progresses with this franchise of Naughty Dog, and how long Naughty Dog is gonna keep on the Last of Us train. So
I mean, like, in my opinion, I think that they should stop, but that's just me.
It's a hard series to really continue with, but we'll see. All right, so next up, speaking of PlayStation, there's been rumors of a Horizon Zero Dawn remaster in the works for PS5. So this remaster is supposed to have like new models, textures, like accessibility options, like more of the modern stuff we're used to now. But should it exist? No. So Horizon Zero Dawn still looks really good. I played it on PS4. I didn't play it on PS5. I did play it on PS4. And the game still looked great. And I'm pretty sure it already has a performance boost from the PS5. Plus, it's on PC now, which already has a bunch of different options and stuff. So this feels very unnecessary. Unless they're going to make this like a free update or like a $10 upgrade, then that's the only way I see this as like acceptable. Like if this is like straight up like a new like $60, $70 like remaster remake, then that's really dumb. Because that game still looks great. Like even more so than like, at least with Last of Us Part 1, you can be like, oh, it was a PS3 game, came out 10 years ago. Like Horizon Zero Dawn came out 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So
I think they're just this just speaks volumes to Sony's and PlayStation's philosophy on just like big blockbuster sort of titles on their platform.
Yeah.
And this is just unfortunately one of the rumors that could potentially happen. And with The Last of Us Part 1, I'm sure that did really well in terms of sales. And if not, that's just because it's a fucking remaster of a game that still looks good on the PS4 sort of upgrades that they gave it. So them remastering this game in particular, I think will not do as well just because it is Horizon Zero Dawn. Let's be honest, it's not as big as The Last of Us or heck even newer PlayStation IPs like Spider-Man and such. So them remastering this game in particular, it's probably not going to do well for however much money that they're putting into it. I get it. You want to put the new bells and whistles that you did for Forbidden West onto this game, but I don't think that is worth it. And this is the one time that people really need to vote with their wallets. If this game actually does come out on the PS5 and it's $70, don't fucking buy it. Like, just buy the PS4 version and then just enjoy the 60 FPS and whatever other enhancements that they gave it for the PS5, because I feel like that is good enough. Unless you need those accessibility features, which is a very, unfortunately, small group of people. Something like this doesn't really need to exist as of right now. If it was coming up on its 10-year anniversary, sure, why not do it? But this is a game that is not even that old, and I feel like a lot of people in the industry agree that this is something that shouldn't happen.
Yeah, like, again, the game still looks great. It doesn't need it. It should just be a free upgrade. Like, if they really want to do this, it should just be a free thing to add to the game and be like, oh, that's cool. That's a cool thing that exists, and that's about it.
Yeah.
It does feel like kind of like a waste of resources to like even do this when other games that deserves remasters and remakes way more. Obviously, the one Twitter always complains about is Bloodborne. Like, Bloodborne should deserve a PS4, PS5 remake or remaster because it's stuck at 30 FPS. So that would be cool for that game to get that. Obviously, there's other games, like a Sly Cooper remake.
Jack and Daxter,
or something.
yeah.
So something that's like older, something that deserves it a little more.
Yeah.
Horizon Ravi came out. It's a great game. I love Horizon Zero Dawn, but like, it doesn't need this, And I think, like you said, Sony's really obsessed with big blockbuster cinematic games, which is fine. Like, I like those games a lot. Yeah. But I also feel like it's nice to have diversity a bit more in your content.
Yeah.
And, like, that's why it was cool to get, like, Astrobot or Ratchet, because they're different from, like, all the other things they're making right now. And it would be cool if they focus a little more on that instead of just, like, remastering Horizon Zero Dawn. Like, why are we doing that? That could be time spent on literally anything else. So, yeah, I do think Sony is acting really kind of shitty this generation, and it's like kind of unfortunate because obviously we both like Sony and stuff. We both grew up with them a lot more, so it kind of sucks that they're kind of taking the piss. But like you said, the only thing we can really do is vote for our wallet and just not buy this one because this one's very unnecessary.
Yeah, and I mean, I watched Mr. Matty Plays, who's a YouTuber that I've honestly only recently discovered because of his Retro Rebound channel, where he pretty much goes back and looks at a bunch of other retro games. But on his main channel, he made a video titled "PlayStation Has Lost Their Minds, Yet Another PS5 Remake Incoming?" And he pretty much talked about this news, and I agree with almost everything he said in that video, which is stuff that we've been echoing, where it's like, this shouldn't happen. There should be other IPs that they should look at, like Sly Cooper, Bloodborne, stuff like that. And PlayStation is just, I think the point that he made was that a lot of the PlayStation blockbuster titles are sort of all looking the same now because they're all like open world games, but with like different themes. So, Spider-Man is an open world game, but it's Spider-Man. Ghost of Tsushima is an open world game, but it's in feudal Japan. Horizon Zero Dawn is an open world game, but it's in like this weird futuristic sense with robots and, bows and arrows and shit. So
yeah,
every single blockbuster PlayStation game is becoming like an open world game, but we don't have a lot of variety because they aren't willing to test the waters with it, even if it were to just be like a very easy just like collection, just like real quick, just like a very easy just like collection with like a disc, and you just throw like whatever games you want on there, like a Infamous collection. If they were to remake Infamous, which is like a bad example because that is an open world game, but Infamous 1 is so fucking bad, like if you were to play it today, it's so bad. But if they were to remake that and they want to see if there's still interest within the Infamous series, and they want, maybe Sucker Punch wants to revisit it, or maybe another studio wants to give it a shot, sure, why not? Do this remake, do this remaster, and then test the waters with that. That's why I always view remakes and remasters and collections in general just as a way to gauge interest within the current landscape of gaming. I think that that's the best way to do it. Just doing it just to be like, well, this is going to make a lot of money is never a good idea. And I feel like that this is one of them. But even then, like I said, I feel like Horizon Zero Dawn doesn't have the same pull as The Last of Us Part 1. So if they're trying to emulate that same success from Part 1 to this game, it's not going to happen. Like, that's all I could really say.
No, I agree. Like, I think, people were able to, like, they didn't even let it slide to Last of Us, but people bought it because they love Last of Us. That's some of people's favorite games of all time. Horizon, doesn't have that same reach, like you said, and I don't see this really doing well. And like I said, there's just other games that deserve it a bit more. Like Infamous deserves it. Like, Resistance haven't had a thing in a while. Like Twisted Metal. I think they actually are making a new Twisted Metal though. Like obviously Ape Escape or whatever. Like all these games that just kind of died and just didn't have anything forever, and then Sony's just people complain about Nintendo like not caring about the IPs. Like Sony just ditches IPs like constantly. So like I'm lucky Ratchet and Clank even exists still. That's mostly because the Sony wants to keep making them. But yeah, like look what happened when they did the Crash Insane trilogy and Spyro Reignited. Like that was enough interest to make a Crash 4. If they were to remake Sly or Jack, maybe that would have sparked enough interest to make a Sly 5 or Jack 4, like that would be cool.
Yeah.
And it would diversify their content more because, there's like one 3D platformer, which is Ratchet, and that's barely a 3D platformer at this point because Ratchet's more about shooting. So, I think just that diversity of content is what Sony really needs. I think because they want to be seen as the more adult platform. Like we have like these, like, I guess like,
big open world cool, gritty games.
Yeah, there you go. Like we're not like that, but I think those cartoony games could show the graphics just as well as those games. I think Ratchet and Clank looks like amazing. Like that's a fantastic looking game, just in a different light. Obviously it's not as realistic, but it basically looks like, I know it's a meme, but it looks like you're playing a Pixar movie. Like, but I don't know.
I mean, like,
I think go ahead.
I think Sony, like, just low key, they're afraid to do anything Jack and Ashley because they're like, this shit gonna pop off, and like if that happens, we're gonna have to make more, and they're afraid to be wrong about that. I don't know. I'm just memeing here, but I know it's mostly Naughty Dog not wanting to revisit that IP because they've tried before, and then they just made The Last of Us. So I mean, they said
that they outgrown it, which I think is kind of like a shitty thing to say because I'm like, what the fuck.
But even then, you could throw it to somebody else, and they'll hopefully make something.
Just don't make another Lost Frontiers.
Yeah.
That was ass.
Just don't do that. But there's obviously a lot of people out there that want certain PlayStation IPs to return, and I'm very, very, very self-aware that Sly Cooper isn't going to be a multi-million-dollar sort of franchise. But even then, having different mascots in different genres on PlayStation is what they really need. Because when you look at the big PlayStation games, it's not a lot of variety in the grand scheme of things. So
like even though I agree with you, and I still think all these games are great, like Ghost of Tsushima, Horizon, Spider-Man. They're all fantastic games. Like I love them a lot. But yes, I do agree that they need a little more variety. Like even having like a FPS, like a first person shooter, like I won't really play it on a controller, but still it's kind of weird that there's no like first person shooter. There's no, like, again, Ratchet's really the only platformer, but even then he's not really a platformer. Like there's not like really a lot besides 3D action adventure games, and that's about it. So
Mr. Matty Plays said that something along the lines of Sony wants their own FPS, but they have Resistance and Killzone, right? They also have Killzone. So they had these franchises that they're sitting on, but they're just not touching anymore for some reason. And it's a lot riskier to create something brand new when you just have these IPs sitting there, when you could just dig them out and hopefully have someone else or even the original studios create something new with it.
I know Guerrilla, they're the people that made Killzone. They're doing Horizon now. And Soniac, I don't think they really want to touch Resistance as much. Like I think they'd rather keep Ratchet as their other person. But again, they could just give it to other people. Like it's fine. Like I don't know why they're kind of allergic to that, but that is kind of a whole thing. Hopefully Sony does wake up to it. I'm hoping for a new PlayStation showcase where they do show some new stuff, because besides God of War, I don't even know what else to be excited about for Sony at the moment. Like, I'm really excited for God of War, but after that I don't really know, besides Spider-Man 3, but I think that's about it.
Spider-Man
2, sorry.
It does feel like 3 because of Miles Morales, but
that's right. I'm a Spider-Man 2, but I guess we have to wait and see what Sony does.
Moving on from there.
I forgot who was doing it.
It's my turn.
Okay.
Google Stadia shut down.
Who could have saw that coming?
I think that pretty much everyone knew that this was going to happen. So anyone that bought directly through the Google Store. They're going to get refunded for all the games, all the hardware, I think, as well. So it's pretty cool that Google's like, yeah, we know we're a fucking multi-billion-dollar company, so we're just going to refund you for everything that you bought, because at the end of the day, once everything shuts down, you just got a piece of plastic that's going to be worth nothing. So, yeah, I think that this just shows that like streaming video games is still like too new. You know, we've seen it before with other things outside of Google Stadia, and this being Google, obviously one of the biggest tech companies on the planet, the fact that they weren't even able to get their software and their service off the ground, it just speaks to what the service really is on the market right now, which is there's no market for it, really. Like, people don't want to stream their games, don't want to have it downloaded. They want to buy it physically, like me, the very few people that still do that. But for the most part, people are comfortable with buying a game, downloading it, and then have that be the way they play it instead of them streaming it from a server, because there are, a lot more barriers that you put on yourself for no reason other than the fact that you're saving space and you're just streaming it. But then again, input delay, things like that. When you're playing single player games, that can be very noticeable, and I feel like that's why people are very hesitant on streaming games, even with the whole PlayStation Plus Essentials thing with the PS3 games all being streaming, which fucking sucks, but that's the only way that they're able to do it for some reason. It would be much preferred to have it downloaded.
Yeah. Like, again, I played all of Ratchet and Clank Full Frontal Assault with it, and it worked good. Like, I didn't have too much issues with it, but I still wish I could just download it, because it's still gonna look a little grainy and stuff, because it's not like native to the system, and uses a lot of weird stuff. Like, it's like when you press the PS button, it shows the PS3 like stuff, and like it's just really awkward. And there's times where the game just fucks up for a second, then goes back to normal. All those things are just, streaming issues. And, I think the Stadia was even worse, because you had to, like, buy the game. Like, you bought the game for $60 and streamed it. Like, that's beyond stupid. Like, if it was, like, a straight up service, like, oh, you just pay, like, $15 and then you could stream wherever, like, Game Pass or whatever, that's fine. Then you could just do it as just like a streaming box. But the fact that you have to buy the games to be able to stream it, I'm like, well, just get an Xbox at that point, Like, what's even the point? Like, oh, I don't want to download it. I'm like, that's like maybe like 3 hours if it's a big game, and that's about it. Like, and then you can just play it like normally. Like, I don't understand why the Stadia existed like this. It was just destined to fail, I think. And plus, Google like abandons things all the time, so people weren't really going to give them a benefit of a doubt here. They just, oh no, they're just going to abandon it as soon as it goes bad, and there you go, it went bad. So yeah, I think Stadia had a lot of issues. Besides it being like too soon for like a streaming gaming service, it was also too soon. I mean, it was also like stupid that they expected you to buy the game that you don't even own. That's even worse than like, obviously at least with digital games you could say the same thing, but at least you could download it and play it like while streaming it. Like, that seems even worse. So yeah, I definitely think Stadia was just a really bad decision. Like, I think Game Pass just eclipses it at this point. Even like Sony's like service eclipses it, and that service isn't great either, but I think it's way better than whatever Stadia was. So yeah, I think the mainstream gaming companies just beat it to the punch. Or not beat it to the punch, just did it better. So and it really shows to you that I think gaming companies know what they're doing more than just some random tech company. Amazon keeps trying to get into the gaming sphere, and like they keep kind of failing. Google keeps trying to do stuff, but it just can't do it. Gaming is a really hard thing to get right. And, some companies still can't. Like, Sony still messes up. Microsoft still messes up. Nintendo still messes up. But at least they have years of experience. Like, these tech companies think they know what they're doing, but then it just ends up failing. So, yeah.
And I think even like a subscription thing wouldn't even pale into comparison of what Microsoft has,
Oh, yeah.
Like, Game Pass, you have these thousands and thousands of games, and you could download them.
Plus you could download them,
Yeah, so you could download them, and then you could play them as long as it's on your hard drive. I don't think you need an internet connection after they're downloaded, right?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay, so if that is true, then, what is the point of streaming games, unless it's like a super cheap service where you could play all of these third-party games, mind you, where you don't have a lot of loyalty. And I'm sure that Google Stadia might have had one exclusive game, but even then, I remember a tweet that went viral when Google Stadia shut down was like the what's it called? The Terraria developer was like, yeah, nope, this shit is dog. I'm not doing it. Sorry, Stadia players. And he was like, yeah. I pretty much speaks volumes. If this guy can't even get his game to work on the platform, he's like, nah, fuck it, whatever, because it's not worth it. It's obviously not worth it. And to those people that developed or changed games for this service, their hours of work is just gone.
Yeah, I heard a lot of things on Twitter where a lot of developers that were still making like exclusives for it and basically weren't told at all that the Stadia was shutting down, and they basically learned the same way everyone else figured it out, and just like, okay, now what do we do? So yeah, that's obviously really shitty as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, the whole thing was a mess, but I think a lot of the general public knew that this thing was not gonna like take off. Like, it was just a failure to begin with. So yeah, I didn't buy into any of the ads. Like, this thing is gonna suck. It's gonna go the way of the Ouya, and then there you go. So apparently the Wii U lasted longer than this. So yeah that's fun.
I know a lot of the developers are trying to figure out ways for Stadia players to transfer their stuff onto PC or a console or whatever. So that's obviously going to be a process to those people that are within this group of people that are, I guess, experiencing this loss of their Stadia platform. So who knows? Maybe this platform was a way to get some people into gaming. I'm sure that there were a few people that got into this and was like, hey, games can be fun. Wow, kind of thing. So yeah, maybe that's one of the potential upsides of it. But then again, we all most people that play games nowadays knew that Stadia wasn't going to last that long. So the fact that Google pulled out now is not surprising. But yeah.
Yeah, basically farewell. We'll never see something like this again, I guess. Just don't do that shit again, Google.
Not anytime soon anyways.
All right, so we got a new movie from the dude who made Your Name and Weathering with You, Suzume no Tojimari? Yeah.
Something like that.
So Your Name was obviously a fantastic movie. Like, it was amazing. Weathering You felt like a worse version of that. I wasn't that into it. I think you like it a little more than I did.
Yeah, I don't think it was that bad, but it was definitely not as good.
I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was bad, but I definitely think it wasn't as good. I just kind of felt like a worse Your Name. This movie, it looks kind of stupid, but I'm not gonna judge it too much because I didn't see it yet.
Yeah.
But the whole premise of this seems to be like this. Like, guy and girl, obviously they like each other or something, or she likes him. He's doing the thing again. That's fine. But he seems to be like in some magical thing, and some cat turns him into a chair, and then most of the movie is just her with this chair, and they kind of try to solve how to make this cat not end the world, I guess. And there's some scenes which look really stupid, but it might be because of the context. Like, there's a scene where she's like kissing the chair. It's the dumbest shit I've ever seen, but it could be a more funny scene. It's just the way they show this in the trailer makes it seem like it's like this like dramatic thing. I'm like, this is dumb as shit. But again, I don't really know the context. So again, the animation looks amazing. Like, I think this, like, the animation is still just as good as the other two movies, and the music, I'm sure, is going to be as good as the other two as well. But just the premise of it is very silly. Yeah. But who knows? It could be really good. I'm going to, watch it and see if it's, if it's good. But I guess the premise of it does look very silly to the point where it does look kind of stupid. But we'll see. I
mean, like, Shinkai, he's going all in with this one. He's making a chair romance, which is very funny because ProZD was like,
yeah, I was gonna say ProZD made a thing on that. Yeah,
he was like, I want my royalties, and I was like, that's pretty spot on. But yeah, I mean, obviously we don't know exactly the full details of this story. All we know is that the cat turned him into a chair, and now they're trying to figure out how to turn him back into a human. And I guess she falls in love with him throughout the course of the movie. So yeah, I mean, obviously it seems like a balls to the wall sort of anime plot, and I'm all fucking down for it, honestly. I cannot wait to see this movie in theaters in the US when it eventually comes over. It's going to come out in November 11th in Japan. Okay. So hopefully, those people that go see it, they could give us a good impression of what it's like. Obviously, Weathering with You was a little too similar to Your Name, so I guess now he's just fuck it, whatever. There's some magical door. He turns into a chair. There's this evil cat. All right, let's go. And I'm like, all right, I'm in. Fuck it, whatever. I don't care. Yeah, honestly, I'm low-key kind of excited to see how good or how bad this movie is. I think it's going to be good. I think it's just the context of stuff. Because, trailers usually don't really do a great job explaining things in context. Like, a lot of those scenes could also be, like, more it's meant to be funny. But I think if it is played straight,
it would be kind of stupid, but I would also laugh because how ridiculous it is. But
yeah,
I'll give it a shot. Again, those movies are still eye candy because they're so beautiful.
Yeah,
even just watching this, like the animation is insane.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I guess we'll see when it comes out. But I'll give it another chance. I didn't hate Weathering with You. I just thought it was a little weaker than Your Name. But Your Name was still like one of the best like anime things ever. So that's fine.
Your Name is cinema, if you will.
It's very good. So.
Next bit of news, we got Deadpool 3 confirmed for September 6, 2024, and Hugh Jackman returns as Wolverine.
Yeah.
So this was pretty big news. Obviously the way that they market every single Deadpool movie is just through Ryan Reynolds, which is great.
Yep.
So the fact that they, at the end, were just like, hey, we got Hugh Jackman back. And they also did a follow-up video to be like, all right, well, how does this play into the context of Logan and everything like that? And, Logan takes place in 2030, whatever. So that's how it's going to play into it. So honestly, I love Logan. I think that movie is like one of, if not the best comic book movies out there, just outside of the MCU. Like, it is so fucking good as a rated R comic book movie, and a send off to Hugh Jackman's role as that character was great. So him coming back, I do feel a little, iffy about. But I know that this is going to be like a fun sort of buddy cop sort of thing. I know Ryan Reynolds said that he's wanted to do this before the whole merge with Fox. So the fact that they were able to now put it into effect with the Disney budget as well, I cannot wait to see.
Yeah, and I'm happy he's in here. I think Logan was a pretty good like send off to his character, or just as him. Mm-hmm. But it is cool to see him again as Wolverine because I think it's one of those perfect casting decisions where like I can't really see anyone else as Wolverine at this point, just because he's been doing it for so long and he just fits the character. Mm-hmm. So it's cool to see him going to be in the MCU. I don't know if he's going to be like a permanent thing. Like, I don't know, they're gonna do some wacky shit. Like he'd be like, oh, here's like Fox's Wolverine or whatever. But mm-hmm. It's going to be cool to see him regardless in here. I think the MCU have been hinting a lot at mutants and like all this shit in general. And I think Feige said like they weren't going to do mutants for a little bit, or an X-Men movie in a while. Mm-hmm. But it's still cool to see like stuff like this happen this soon, I guess. Again, I don't know if this is going to be a throwaway joke. I don't know if it's going to be whatever, but it's going to be cool to see him there regardless, So, yeah, like you said, Logan was like a very good superhero movie, and like it was just really good. Yeah. So I'm hoping that he still got in him to do like another Wolverine role, and we'll see. I mean, I don't know how prominent he's going to be. I don't think he's going to be that prominent in the movie, but again, it'll be cool to see him. Yeah,
I think that, I'm sure that there were talks with Ryan Reynolds and Marvel, and they were like, can we recast Wolverine? And he was like, nah, fuck that.
Fuck you.
I feel like their chemistry, just those two as people, is like there, obviously. Like when you watch their video, sort of, I guess, like jokingly explaining the timeline questions and whatnot. So, yeah, I think that this movie is going to be a lot of fun. I mean, I think that the first two Deadpool movies were very, very good. Deadpool 2, more of the same, but I think that the first one really, honed in on the sort of superhero movies can be rated R, and they can also be very good. So I think that was very, very cool. So hopefully Deadpool 3 can deliver on that. Obviously, when the trailer comes out, we will be discussing it. But yeah, very, very cool to see that they have a vision and have an idea, and they were able to share that with us.
All right, so next piece of Marvel news, we have another trailer for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. And yeah, it looks pretty good. There's a lot of stuff going on. So they're fighting Atlantis, which I think they said before. Mm-hmm. I think I remember hearing about that. And there's just a lot of stuff going on. We see Ironheart for a little bit. I think you see her sort of flying away for a second. And obviously there's the big thing with who's going to be the next Black Panther. And then at the end, it looks like Shuri, I think. So, but I don't know. Like, it probably is, but it could also be like a fake out. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Like, some people were saying like everyone's just Black Panther at this point. Like, just everyone has a suit. I don't know if I subscribe to that. But yeah, it's probably going to be Shuri, and a lot of people aren't very happy with it because her actress is a little crazy. But I guess it makes sense that she would be the next Black Panther. But again, we don't really know. They're kind of keeping it a little more of a you don't really know until I guess the movie comes out, unless you do another trailer for it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, besides that, it looks really good. I mean, I don't think it's that strong as the last trailer because the last trailer was like really good, but this trailer was still good. It gives you like the main conflict of what's actually happening in the movie, which is them versus like Atlantis or whatever. But I think the last trailer was better just for giving us like it felt like more of a tribute to Chadwick Boseman, which is still having here. Like, still have like the whole beginning sequence, and I feel like that's gonna be a really strong part of the movie. But yeah, I'm still excited for it. I pre-ordered my ticket for it and stuff. So. Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be one of the better MCU movies that came out since Endgame, I hope.
Yeah,
So.
I think that just the trailer's tone is a lot more serious. So because of that, people are a lot more excited for it. I think that
jokey,
I think that we need a serious Marvel movie, especially because this one is dealing with the death of Chadwick Boseman. So I think that whoever the new Black Panther is, apparently no one's really guessed it correctly, so who the fuck knows? But I hope that it is not Shuri, just because of the whole controversial shit that she was doing, behind the scenes as being a fucking Hollywood diva. But anyways, I am excited for this movie. I hope that this is very, very good. Not to say that, Marvel movies haven't been good since Endgame, but, this one is dealing with a very serious topic. And because it is following up the first Black Panther movie, it has a lot of expectations, So I cannot wait to see how this movie plays out. People are very much looking forward to it for a good reason. So I hope that they are able to deliver on that promise and that expectation that pretty much everyone has for this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I love Black Panther 1. It's gonna be hard to follow up Chadwick Boseman's like Black Panther, but hopefully they could do it. I'm hoping it looks like they're taking it very respectfully, like his passing and stuff in the universe as well, which is cool. So this movie has a lot of expectations. So hopefully it doesn't mess us up, because I know a lot of people are on kind of a razor thin edge with the MCU at this point in terms of like keeping up with it. So hopefully this movie could be a knockout. So.
Yeah, because it's kind of like we're at the point where we're kind of reintroducing everyone, and because the shows are doing most of that, people are like, that's such like a time investment, like 6 hours kind of thing. So, people are trying to look for another reason to reinvest themselves into the MCU, and obviously having older characters or older, I guess, or characters that are already established within the MCU, using it to introduce new ones like Ironheart, for example. I think that is obviously like a very good idea that we've said many, many times before. So, yeah. Moving on from there, we got Armor Wars is being redeveloped into a movie instead of a Disney Plus show. So I want to see more of this, honestly. I'm glad that they recognize that the story that they wanted to tell was not fit for a show, and instead they're going to do it for a movie. So, yeah, I mean, that's great. Don Cheadle's finally going to, be starring in a MCU movie where it's literally just him and not, in a Avengers movie or some sort of crossover or whatever. So that's pretty cool. I'm glad that they are recognizing that, hey, this isn't going to work as a Disney Plus series, and it'd probably work better as a film. So that's good. We didn't hear much about it at D23, I believe. We didn't hear anything at all. So the fact that they were like, all right, well, we didn't show it because they didn't know what the fuck it was going to be to begin with. So
yeah. No, I think that's good. Like, I think if the story is condensed enough to make it into a movie and they could give it more of a budget, then I think that's just for the best. Like, I think some of the more mini-series, like maybe WandaVision should have been a movie or something. I mean, it kind of fit the TV format, so maybe not. But, I think maybe Falcon and Winter Soldier probably would have been cool as a movie if they were able to condense it and cut out some of the fat or whatever. But if they could do the same thing with this, if they could cut the fat or maybe make it seem better or give it more of a budget, then, I'm down with that. And, hopefully they pay their, all their artists more money, so we don't get some of the stuff from Thor Ragnarok where it looked so weird. So hopefully that's the case. But I think having that movie budget and just having more of that spectacle would be good for this. And Don Cheadle is great, so I'm glad he's gonna have a starring role in something now as a War Machine, because right now we don't really have an Iron Man. I know Ironheart's coming up, but I kind of miss the more of the Iron Man type stuff. So it's gonna be cool to sort of see that happening here. So.
Yeah, so obviously this is still very early on within development. They don't even have a director attached. We don't know where this fits in with the MCU phases. I know that this was originally supposed to be a follow-up to Secret Invasion, so it'll probably still be within that place. But yeah, pretty cool that they are recognizing that, hey, maybe a TV show isn't the best idea for this one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so moving on from there, we're going to get into our Disney Plus series discussions. So first, we're going to talk about Andor episodes 4 and 5, and then afterwards, we're going to talk about She-Hulk 7 and 8, which I'm very excited about those.
Yeah.
But first, Andor. So we're going to talk about spoilers, obviously. So episode 4 sets up the whole, I guess, like, mission that they're doing, and what's it called? That rich guy pretty much threw him in there because he wanted to make sure that this works, and he wants to make sure that they're safe and everything like that. And obviously the other people are very hesitant on that because they're first up giving him a fake name, Clem, and then also they don't know who he is. They don't know his past or anything like that. But we see him open up a little bit more within episode 5, which is good to sort of build that trust, because when you're working together as a team, that is very important to have trust in each other. So
I think they did a good job sort of like having that tension. Because, obviously just like, what the fuck? You didn't tell us that this random dude was going to show up at like the last minute. I think they did a good job just not like, like, oh, welcome to the team. All right, like, let's have a fun team thing. But now that everyone's very on edge already. So adding this extra person, which they don't know they could trust. I mean, they could barely trust each other to begin with. So just adding this new guy really like ruined the whole dynamic, I guess. So I thought that was really cool to see. The show is a lot more grounded than any other Star Wars show. Like, it basically feels like I'm not even watching a Star Wars show. Like when a TIE fighter shows up, I'm like, oh yeah, it's a Star Wars thing, which is cool. Like, I think it's a very different take on Star Wars. I mean, Rogue One felt like a very different thing in general, so I'm glad they sort of kept that sort of thing going on. There's a lot more espionage and a lot more just political stuff going on. There's a lot of different side stories. The officer dude like went to see his mom because he's like depressed now, so that's funny. There's like a lot of other stuff where another politician seeing the other rich dude that the smuggler guy who brought Andor over here. There she has a bunch of stuff going on too. There's just a lot of like wheels moving and turning, and I don't know where all of them are gonna go. Same thing with those other two officers that are like looking for stuff. I'm like, this is a lot of things going on, and it's gonna be interesting to see how they all like interconnect to each other.
Yeah, because obviously they did that within the first 3 episodes where all of that stuff sort of collided within the final episode. So I'm sure that's gonna be the same thing within these next 2 episodes, hopefully, where everything will all come together and sort of make sense for everything for the plot. But yeah, like you said, that the espionage stuff and sort of like the conflict that they have within that group was something that I really liked, because he's an outsider, and that can also speak to, I guess, like social commentary about just like in general, maybe racism in a sense. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking a little too deep into it. So yeah, when you bring someone into your own group and you've been working with this group for so long, and then someone else new just comes in and you don't know jack shit about them, their behavior is very much well warranted, and some of them are a little more active than others in terms of trying to figure out who Andor actually is, but who is he to trust exactly?
Yeah, and it's pretty cool to see like the I guess like the will of the rebellion in this case. Like some of them are really into it, and Andor kind of is too. He's just not saying it. Like he's like, oh, mostly for the money, even though he does kind of want to bring down the empire. But it's cool to see like the rebellion be like this really really small thing before it like explodes later in the series. So yeah, and this mission is kind of the first like victory, or hopefully it's the first victory for them to set the rebellion in motion. So I think that's pretty cool, and it really shows how like they have no idea what they're doing, because in the next episode, they're like, okay, we're gonna pilot this thing. It was like, okay, we're gonna tell you like how do we pilot this thing? It's like, you guys don't know how to pilot this thing, don't you? They're like, no, we're testing you. It's like, no, you guys actually don't know what you're doing. It's like, oh shit. So I think having these scrappy people like not knowing what they're doing but still want to fight the good fights pretty realistic to like how actual rebellions are, which is cool, because by the time we see them in the other episodes of Star Wars, they're pretty established, like having like commanders and stuff. But back before that, there was basically nothing. I think the show does a good job showing that. So
yeah, and Andor being like, I'm in it for the money, but we all know low key that by the end of it, he wants to fight for the rebellion, destroy the empire and shit like that. So
yeah,
and because we are following Andor's story, when we learn new information about the other characters, like why they're fighting for this fight and things like that, Andor is also learning about it. So I think that is pretty cool that we are slowly getting the other characters to open up and sort of Andor's boundaries, don't fucking touch me kind of thing. I was like, oh shit, bro.
Don't touch
my man is very much asserting his ground, if you will. And even when he was trying to, tell them to like swap spots because, he's left-handed, and just to show that he's very much well observing everyone. And he is, not just probably in it for the money as he says he is. He's very much trying to help them succeed in this mission, whether he likes to admit it or not. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to how this whole operation pans out, because obviously he seems to be the one that knows a lot more than the other people, even what they're saying or what they're telling or whatnot. So
yeah, and it's just gonna be interesting how all this plays out in the actual mission, which is probably gonna be in the next episode. So yeah, definitely looking forward to that, because we're building up to it so much now. So I'm like, I wonder how it's gonna turn out. So yeah, definitely, I'm really liking the show right now. I think it's kind of weird that I feel like this show has more like production value than Kenobi did, but whatever.
Look, none of these characters are in Rogue One, so I'm just gonna, not get attached to anyone. So,
they might bite the dust.
They might bite the dust. They might go their own way. Who the fuck knows? But yeah, overall Andor, like you said, is very, very good. I cannot wait to see what else the show has to offer, because they already said that this is going to be like a 2-season thing. So
okay.
If we get more of it, I'm all down for it. So. But moving on, let's talk about She-Hulk. I will save my excitement for Daredevil for just a moment, and let's talk about episode 7, because this was an episode that might have seemed like filler at first, but once we get to the end of it and see that the fucking Josh guy that she was looking at, or I guess seeing, if you will, was a fucking douchebag, and he was a incel, if you will.
Yeah, he was an incel 4chaner. Yeah. Or I guess Redditor, because like it's based on Reddit. I guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. When the episode started, it's like, oh, she's like all sad and stuff, looking at her phone. I am happy that she was able to get over it and was like a whole thing, but then it's like, oh shit, he's like the incel guy. Like that I didn't. I partly kind of expected that, but I was just like, oh shit. So that was pretty interesting. But honestly, I really like, one thing I really like about this show is all the really stupid like superheroes that exist. Like I just really like it. like a Man Bull and the Porcupine, because they're just dumb. And I don't know, I just really like that. Them having the group therapy session and stuff, like try to get over whatever like is bothering them and stuff, and seeing Abomination like be, I guess, like an actual good guy is pretty funny to see as well. Just learning how she should appreciate herself and all that. I think it was pretty good. Honestly, it was a lot better of an episode than I thought it was gonna be. I'm like, oh okay, like I guess we're just gonna hold this plot point, but I'm like, oh okay, that was pretty funny. I thought all the jokes were pretty good and stuff. Anything else you want to say about the episode before the next episode is insane? So
there was definitely a reason for everything that the writers and the sort of like directors did for this series. Like everything has a purpose, whether we like it or not. Certain things aren't just there to be like, hey, walking in a dark alley as a woman is very scary. Obviously, we all fucking know that, and people are assholes about it. So they bring it back with that guy being at the group therapy session, which was a little strange, because I was like, oh shit, like what's gonna happen here? So but them bringing it back to her, sort of, I'm not saying validating herself, because everyone's been at that point. If you've been dating around on Tinder or whatever the fuck, you're waiting for that person to text you back, and you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting, and it fucking sucks when they don't and they ghost you or whatever the fuck happens. So me myself being in that position before, seeing her go through that, I was like, damn, that's tough. That's fucking tough. Because she obviously really liked him, and she thought that he was a genuine guy, but obviously that was all for show. So
incel.
But yeah, definitely. I think that a lot of, I guess, like the filler episodes that we've been quote unquote filler episodes, if you will, because they're not actual filler. They actually do serve the purpose of the story, but they may feel like filler to, certain people, if you will. The episodes that aren't as action packed and I guess more of what the show actually is, which is just, She-Hulk trying to be a superhero, but also trying to live her life. And, you see that sort of clash and collide, and really a lot of these past episodes with the whole wedding, and now this last one, really does show that, she's still deciding whether or not she should still be a lawyer and still be Jen Walters, or if she should just all in on She-Hulk. And, it's obviously very hard to live that double life as a public figure. But moving on to episode 8, obviously we got Mr. Charlie Big Cox.
Yeah.
When he entered the scene as the lawyer and he was like, "No, I'm not representing myself," I was like, nah. Matt Murdock's about to walk in. Let's fucking go. So yeah, I think that this was the one episode that people have been waiting for like the past few weeks, including myself. Not in a bad way. Not to say that, you know, these last 2 episodes have been bad, but, you know, just something that I set expectations for myself because they did tease them. So I guess I should have been a little more patient or just set my expectations lower. But now that we have the episode, it was fucking great. Honestly, I really liked what they did with Daredevil in the context of this series in particular. Obviously, you know, his show and his series is a lot more serious. So people being like, this is not my Daredevil, you know, like, this is not Matt Murdock, this is not Charlie Cox. I'm like, it's still Charlie Cox doing his Matt Murdock thing. Like, every single scene that he was in, like, I was just giggling. I was literally like a fucking fanboy on the inside watching him be in this role fully for the first time in however many years, you know, like, obviously we saw him in Spider-Man, but within this show, seeing him do his Daredevil thing, do his Matt Murdock thing was just fucking great.
Yeah, they gave him a hallway.
Yes, they gave him a hallway scene.
I knew about that, so they gave him a hallway. I think they gave a lot of fan service to play his theme and all that. So it was great. I mean, even, you know, I'm like, I didn't watch Daredevil, right? So after watching this, I didn't watch Daredevil. So yeah, I'm definitely going to do that. But I think they did a great job, like, introducing him to the MCU in general. I think he comes off as, you know, I know he's more serious in his series, but I think they give him a nice, you know, sense of humor and stuff. They show how badass he is in general, how acrobatic he is. You know, all his fight scenes are great as well. They show his lawyer side. You know, they did a great job just introducing him to, like, I guess, a wider amount of people that might have not known that Daredevil exists already. Mm-hmm. So I think that's really cool to see him here as well. And yeah, I thought it was great as well. You know, even I was just like, hell yeah, look at that, look at him go. So yeah, that was really good to see, and I can't wait to see how they do his own series in Disney Plus. So, you know, obviously, I hope they go for a more serious tone than they did here. But obviously, this is a She-Hulk show and not a Daredevil show. Mm-hmm. So I think people saying, like, not my Daredevil, I'm like, you still gotta remember this is still more of a comedic series to begin with. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure once he has his own series, it's gonna be a bit more darker in tone. But overall, I think they did a great job with his character. And I like how to just beat the shit out of, like, fucking Ribbit and Rip. I love that guy too, man. It's so stupid. The fucking leap pad or lily pad. Mm-hmm. Like,
yeah, literally, I think that the way that they were also able to explain his powers and explain that, yeah, he's a blind man, but he can see with hearing and, you know, with the heartbeats and shit like that. I think that, you know, Jen Walters being like, wait, what the fuck? Like, wait, hold up. What the hell are you doing right now? You know? So yeah, you know, I'm glad that they were able to explain his character in a way that really made sense. You know, obviously, like, I knew everything about, you know, Daredevil within the context of this Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I think that this episode really does a good job explaining Daredevil and who he is, and to someone like Damian who, you know, knows about him but hasn't watched anything about him, this was definitely like a good, like, I guess, like, sample to be like, all right, now go watch the fucking Netflix series, because it definitely dives into a lot of his character. And literally season 1 is like perfect. Season 2, really good start with the whole Punisher stuff, but it is still good later on with the Elektra nonsense. But I'm not gonna go on a tangent there. But it was fucking great seeing him do his Daredevil thing, and, you know, playing up to the humor, and, you know, him doing the walk of shame was very very funny as well.
Yeah, so. Just walking in the fucking daylight.
Yeah. So yeah, and then the whole last part of the show where they were pretty much setting up the finale of it was obviously very very good. I think that them sort of playing up and sort of bringing everything together, and, you know, I guess, like, them playing up to the fact that, you know, She-Hulk is still a, I guess, like, weapon, if you will. So them getting her mad and her doing the whole, you know, busting through the wall and fucking holding up that guy, almost about to kill him, honestly. You know, probably should have. But, yeah, you know, shitty things happen to shitty people. And, you know, when, I guess, in the context of society, when she does something, it is looked at a lot more, I guess, like, down upon or something like that. Honestly, I don't know exactly what I'm saying. You know, there's obviously a lot of political stuff with females that I don't know about as a cis male. I don't know shit. So I'm not gonna, you know, voice my opinion on the whole last bit, like, too heavily, but I can understand what they were trying to go for from a writing perspective, because you can tell, like, on the screen there's a whole lot of just, like, incel Reddit shit that was going on there.
I mean, I was surprised how like dark they went with that
Yeah.
stuff. Like, obviously with the whole like female lawyer of the year thing, like it kind of showed that she thought she won a thing, but it was like more of like a participation thing. It's like, oh, here's all the female lawyers that work here. So I guess it's more meant to be patronizing than anything. Like here's like this dude just like, here's your participation trophy. You don't really get valued as much as a male lawyer. That was the whole thing. And then when the incel Reddit people come in, it was just like revenge porn her, which is like pretty fucked up. I'm like, geez, that's like really dark for like this show. Okay,
I did not expect that.
Yeah, and then when she gets all mad and stuff, it went a lot darker than I thought it was gonna go, just because it's like a lot more realistic, I guess, which is good. I think they play up more of that aspect. They play more of the aspect that she's more of a woman that has, I guess, power, and like guys don't like that more than she's just a Hulk, I guess, if that makes any sense. So I do like that they play more into that, since it's more of a actual like real life issue. So I think they did a good job with that. Again, I can't really talk. I'm also just a guy, so don't take anything I say too seriously. But yeah, I do think they did a good job with that stuff, and they still deal with her being a Hulk. I think all the people that were complaining that, oh, she got trained to, like, oh, she's just better than Bruce Banner, like, that's not fair. I think now she's kind of learning the hard way that, just like with Bruce Banner losing his cool, she lost her cool here for understandable reasons, but, it's still like, I guess more of a lesson in how to be a Hulk as well. So they kind of play into both her being, more of a woman and then the Hulk stuff. So I think they did a good job in that one scene doing all of that. So yeah, basically, I hope the Redditors die. So, there you go.
Yeah, Damian definitely did a much better job explaining the politics behind that. But yeah, when women are perceived as angry, they're perceived as a bitch for some reason. When everyone gets angry and everyone has emotions, and shit like that. So yeah, and woman in power.
Also, same.
I mean, fuck it. Yeah, tell me what to do. I don't give a fuck.
It's not the same thing with like, yeah, she slept with people, but like if a dude does it, it's like it's fine. Yeah, she does it. She's like a like I don't really. Like,
I mean,
whatever.
Yeah, like that's like a very obvious thing within like Game of Thrones. Like, I'm watching House of the Dragons with my girlfriend, and obviously like that shit happens. That shit happens. Dudes can have sex with all of these prostitutes, but once like a woman has sex with one guy, it's like, oh my god, you're ruining like like your purity and shit like that. And I'm like, that's fucking weird. Like that's just weird. So. Yeah,
we live in a society.
We live in a society. That is the end of it. But yeah, hopefully the finale is able to stick the landing, because that is one of my main gripes with a lot of the Disney Plus shows in general from Marvel, is that like the endings are just fucking hot trash for whatever show it is. I think the only one that has been able to stick the landing was Loki, but that's just because it's playing up to the whole multiverse thing. So it had to stick the landing, if you will. So, but yeah, hopefully the finale delivers, like I said. But is there anything else you'd like to say, good sir?
No, I think that's everything.
All right. So thank you guys for listening to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 97. We'll see you guys 2 weeks from now with another episode.
See ya.